Great. I can see several thumbs up. Thank you so much for confirmation. So the agenda for today's class is Azure AZ 900 Certification Masterclass. And in this masterclass, I'll give you a glimpse of what Azure is, and maybe I can clarify your basic questions, and I'll give you a small demo starting with one of the resources in Azure. All right, let's get started. We have around 43 participants already, so I'll get going. Let me start with my introduction and a quick note that feel free to interrupt in your chats and messages. I would be happy to respond to all your questions. Let me also start the recording.
Recording in progress.
For the compliance purpose. And yeah, do not hesitate to ask anything. Another thing is, my name is Sudha, and I have around like 14 years of total industry experience and just 7 years in cloud and Azure. Uh, I run my own cloud consultancy, and here I am because I love teaching. All right, so let me start sharing my screen. Entire screen. Okay, so kindly mute yourself. If you have any questions, you should ask me in the chat. Cool. So can you see my screen, all of you? A slide deck. Great, great, great. Like I said, the agenda for today is I'll give you a brief of what is a cloud service, and we'll discuss mainly things related to Azure, and I'll give you a small hands-on demo. Okay. How many of you know, or how many of you do not know cloud, AWS, GCP, or Azure? Please ping me in the comments so that I can go in depth to ensure you understand what I'm trying to explain. Please tell me if you don't know cloud. Okay, so cloud is it's a virtual environment where you can create computing resources, network resources, databases, and a lot of other kind of services you can create. So that's very basic definition of a cloud. Speaking at a high level. So you can create machines of any size, databases of any size. So the thing is, why should somebody go to the cloud? So when you think of enterprise grade, let's suppose you work in an organization which has a huge software. So you can't run those softwares on your machines or small servers. You definitely need high capacity servers and high bandwidth network, and of course, many other things around. So all of that, either you create your own on-premises data center, or you can provision your resources in cloud. So that's a very high level idea. Now, in a cloud, there are different kinds of services. For example, you get virtual machines, storage, networking, uh, and many other platform as a service. Like you get, let's say, database as a service, email as a service, security as a service, and a lot of other services which are even evolving. Just to give you an example, Azure itself has more than 50 services that I'm aware of. So there is a huge like variety of services that you get. Uh, and it's not necessary that for an enterprise or a company or an individual to go completely in cloud. You can go hybrid, like you can have some part of your applications running locally in your local data centers or on premises, or you can have your parts of applications split between different cloud providers. Like you can have some resources in AWS, some in Azure, some in GCP, based on your requirements and based on what they offer. For example, let's say I'll talk about, let's say, Kubernetes. Kubernetes is a like advanced topic. You learn when you reach that level in Azure DevOps. But Kubernetes as a service is offered by 3 cloud providers, as an example. But all 3 providers have a different set of features, and which set of features suit your needs. Based on that, you decide where you want to deploy your resources. Okay, there is a question here. Abraham says to become a software architect means cloud is important. If it's okay, I have the knowledge about Java only, so I'm not able to understand the AI. First question is, do you need to know the cloud? Definitely yes. Not just the architects, even the developers and senior developers or team leads. Uh, all of them need to understand cloud. The proficiency, the competency you have in the cloud depends on what level you are, but definitely it is required. uh, I have worked in like more than 10 companies in the past, and in some or the other form every company has a cloud presence. Okay, so there is a question which one to choose, Azure, GCP, or AWS. I have given you a very vague answer that based on the features that they provide, you can make a decision. Second deciding criteria could be the cost. Third criteria could be the support that you get. So these are the different factors based on which somebody decide which cloud to migrate, which cloud to go. Um, Yes, definitely. There's a last comment that you're learning web development. Uh, do you need to know cloud? Definitely, yes. Uh, for example, if you're developing a web app, where do you think that web app will be hosted? It will be hosted in some servers, and those servers will definitely be in some cloud. If you go with the like old school fashion way, just purchasing server capacity from website providers or domain providers, it's not going to give you flexibility or customizations. So you definitely need to spin up your own servers. I'm going to show you one demo today to create your own Ubuntu server. All right. Uh, at a high level, I'll quickly cover uh, the benefits of cloud. So with cloud, you get high availability, scalability, cost efficiency, reliability, predictability, and automatic scaling. So what that means is high availability means they guarantee in writing that 99.9, for example, or 99.99% of times your app would be up and running. Scalability means you can set up scalability, meaning if you anticipate some peak traffic on certain days, you can set up scalability. For example, we have Big Billion Days in India, we have Black Friday sales in US, and so on. So those are the examples of peak traffic. So when you anticipate something peak traffic for your applications, you should certainly plan for scalability. And all of these topics are essential to understand for all your certifications. Uh, the basic certification, I'll talk about it. So there are three levels of certifications: basic, intermediate, and advanced, or associate and advanced. So in all three levels of certification, you need to understand and practice these basic concepts. Cost efficiency, there are different models of payments: pay you go or reserved pricing. Reliability means you don't have to worry about like whether the machine goes down or something. So these cloud providers take care of server maintenance and all. Predictability, so you know how much cost it's gonna incur to you when you create resources. I'll show you that. And the automatic scaling. Um, there are so many benefits, but let me start with a small demo because that will make this whole class more interesting. If, so before this class, I have already logged into my Azure portal. To be for any of you, if you don't have an Azure account, you can log in. You can sign up, but you will require a credit card. And the first time when you sign up, you get I think $200 valid for 3 months. So let me search for Azure sign up free credits, and you will get uh, yeah, $200 credits, like I said, and these are valid for um, a limited time. So you all can sign up. Anybody can sign up. And post this 200 credits, like when these 200 credits are used or the timeline is lapsed, whichever, occurs first, you only pay what you use for. So this is
ఏం
one
కదా
model.
మైగా
Let me mute. Um, okay. Please ask questions in the chat. I appreciate that. Okay, so after these 200 credits are expired, you only pay for the resources that you consume. And this is one of the models that they offer. And if you are certain of using their services for a long time, there is even cheaper price. So yeah, let's get started. I'm already logged into Azure. This is how the portal look like. These are the recently used services that I have recently used. And uh, before you create anything, first you need to have a subscription, a valid subscription. So a subscription, you can think of something that maps to the one single payment account. So one subscription, you get billing for each subscription that you have. So my subscription name is Pay As You Go. So I'm gonna get billing for this, uh, right? And this, it shows my current cost so far this month. I'll go back. So you need to have a subscription, and within subscription, you need to have a resource group. So what is a resource group? A resource group is a collection of resources. That's it. A logical collection of resources. Any resource that you create in Azure has to reside in one or other resource group. You cannot create a resource outside of a resource group. It has to be part of some resource group. A group, like as the name suggests, it's just a logical grouping, nothing else. This is a great way to uh, like kind of aggregate resources based on some common objective. Let's say you are doing R&D, so you'll have a R&D resource group. For example, I'll go here, I'll click on create. uh, Resource group doesn't actually cost anything, so I'm going to give it a name. Let's say Scholarhead resource group, and choose a region where I want to keep it. So I'll keep it Canada Central. That's fine. You can choose any region, doesn't matter. And click on review and create, and click create. By the way, tags are key value pairs. So you can provide a key, let's say project title, and I'm going to give it a name, something like AZ900 project, and click next. So this becomes a tag. Tag is just like you have tags on your baggage when you go to, airport. So which helps you identify that resource belongs to for certain reason. You can have multiple tags though. So I'll click on create. Yeah, it got created, right? So why I'm telling this you now is because I have so many slides to cover. But I think before I cover them, it would be more interesting to see things in action. Okay. Somebody says you selected Canada region. That means the resource got created in the server, which is located in Canada, right? Uh, I selected Canada. Yes. Uh, the resource hasn't been created yet. No resource has been created yet. But when I create resources, I'm gonna choose the same resource group. Let me refresh. Yeah, it appears here, right? So now I'm going to create a resource in this resource group. So what I want to create, let's say I want to create a virtual machine, which actually is a kind of server. And here we'll choose the same resource group we just created. I'll click on create Azure virtual machine, which is a server. We'll try to deploy some web server in it. Let's say Apache server or something, right? So I'll walk you through all these basic things, the high level wizard. With this, you can ask me questions and you will understand more about how things are, how things work in Azure. To create a virtual machine, first you need to provide some basic details, then the disk details. So virtual machine you can think of just like another computer in a data center, and the data center is managed by Azure, Microsoft. So because it's a machine, it needs to have some computing capacity, it needs to have some disk, It needs to have some networking attached to it. It will have a network interface card. So if you don't know what a network interface card is, you can think of, remember those LAN ports? Uh, those LAN ports in your physical computer act like a network interface. So network interface card, NIC. It need to have some firewalls, which we call here as security group. It needs to have some additional security features. We'll talk about them here. Uh, some monitoring feature the Azure provides, some advanced features, the custom data. I'll talk about all of this in a brief, and let's start from basic. All right. So let me zoom in a little bit. Yeah, better. All right. Mm, sorry. Okay. In the basic section, it is asking me choose a subscription. The subscription model currently that I have is pay as you go. That means I need to pay for the resources that I consume. But there are two more models that I'm aware of, like reserved pricing for, like if you commit to utilize resources for a fixed duration, let's say 3 years from now, so I will get discounted price. There is also a separate subscription for enterprise customers, so they get a different pricing. Resource group, like I said, it's a logical collection of resources, not a real resource though. So I'll click on here and it will show me the resource group that we just created. I'll select that. That means the virtual machine we are going to create will be part of this resource group. Okay, let's give it a name. I want to create an Ubuntu server, 22 or 24, whatever comes to me, in the Canada Central region. You need to give a meaningful and clear name so that other members in your team should be able to understand what that machine is. Uh, yes, of course, you can use tags, and this resource group also will help identify other team members and your managers to understand why this resource was created and what's the purpose. The region it is showing me, the same region the resource group was created. I'll pick the same. Next is availability zone. So what's the difference? So you can think of Azure has created a lot of data centers across the world. Data centers are grouped into availability zones. Availability zones are further grouped into regions. So speaking from bottom to up, data centers, a collection of data center become an availability zone. Two or three availability zones together become a region. That's how the hierarchy works. Mm, yeah, there is a comment here. We can have naming conventions for each resource so that everyone can follow the same. Yes, of course, you can have naming convention, but it's not imposed by Azure. You can have your own naming convention for your company or for your team. Are we clear on availability zone? A zone is a collection of data centers. Now it is asking me, do I want this server to be to have high availability? Like high availability, we mentioned somewhere here. Yeah, benefits of cloud services. High availability. What does that mean? It means if you're creating a server, don't just create in just one data center. Maybe create replicas in more than one, so that if one data center goes down or one availability zone goes down altogether, you still have your server up and running in the other um, availability zone. So if I click on the drop down, it says no infrastructure redundancy required, the redundancy that I just talked about, or you can have redundancy in some form. So I won't go inside the details, what is the virtual machine scale set or availability set, but it's kind of redundancy. It will create the replicas of your machine in more than one availability zone. Next comes the security type. So security type is, like it's a server level. feature offered only in Azure. AWS and GCP have their own types of security offerings. So here it says I can have standard security type, trusted, and I can also have confidential machines, which is not enabled in my current subscription. I'll keep it default. This is the most important part, which most of you can relate, an image. So an image, you can think of a template which defines which operating system it's going to use to create this server, this virtual machine. Every virtual machine needs to have an image. And what exactly image defines? The image contains the operating system, the specific version. Let's say we have Ubuntu 22 long-term stable release, cross 64 architecture, and Gen 2. So if I click on the drop down, I have more options available just for Ubuntu. Ubuntu 20, Ubuntu 24, and so on. There can be a lot more options. You just name it and you will have it here. Uh, any questions for this image? Because this is the most interesting part. Um, so at this point, I also want to mention that where this image comes from. So if you click on see all images, you will see something called as marketplace, Azure Marketplace. So Azure Marketplace is a place where different vendors or different organizations register their tools or their services uh, as an image. For example, in Azure Marketplace, we have Ubuntu as a marketplace offering. We have Windows, we have SQL Server, Red Hat, OpenSUSE, Debian, Visual Studio, and a lot of different kinds of images available. Based on your needs, you can have it. You can choose one of those here. On the other hand, suppose if you're working with a company which has a product, then your company would definitely be interested in registering itself in this marketplace so that it can it can have more reachability to a wider audience. That's the benefit they get. So you can see we have more than 13,000 marketplace offerings available here. I'll close this. So right now I chose Ubuntu 22. Yeah, let me make it Ubuntu 22. All right. Any questions for image? Cool. The VM architecture. So we have ARM64 architecture and Cross64 architecture. ARM64 is like your MacBook silicon chips have ARM64 architecture. You can just search, for example, I'll show you, I have Mac silicon, uname -m. You can see my current architecture is ARM64. If you run the same command on your Intel computers, you'll get Cross64 architecture mostly. So I'll pick the Cross64, uh, run with spot discount. Okay, so this is interesting. Azure spot discount. What is that is, um, think of a server as a huge rectangle. In a given server, in a data center, Azure creates a lot of virtual machines, right? So in a huge rectangle, you are creating small rectangles. What if it is almost about to fill and there's just last 1 or 2 slots remaining? So Azure says the last few slots can be procured at a cheaper price, and that's called spot discount. The thing is, there's no guarantee. You may get it or you may not get it. That's why it's not recommended this option for production applications. However, for your dev test applications, you can certainly check this checkbox. Now, the second interesting thing that I want you to focus is the size of the machine. The size is just like when you when you purchase your local computer, you you always have a preference. I want to have, let's say, certain GB of RAM, certain number of CPUs, and the CPUs must have certain clock speed, and so on. And that's exactly is defined in the size. So if I click on all sizes, I can see a lot of sizes that are that I can choose from. And also your organization, the IT administrator can put on restrictions. Hey, you cannot create machines of size greater than certain configuration. For example, in my this organization, my organization has put some restrictions that I cannot uh, create machines of like these sizes. Look at this, blocked by policy by my organization administrator. So I cannot create machines of like these sizes anymore. So we have as bigger machines as, let's say, let me sort by, I think I saw somewhere around 96 CPUs, hundreds of GB of RAM, a huge data disk, and a very high input output speed. But that's not we're going to choose today. We'll stick with the basic one. In the B series, I'm going to choose, let's say, general purpose B2S machine. So they have given some names to their machine size series, and you can pick the one that suits your needs. Okay, one more thing interesting here is what's the difference between general purpose and we have memory optimized, we have compute optimized, and so on. So the general purpose machines are good for day-to-day jobs, and you don't get the full capacity. For example, when it says you will get two CPUs, you don't get 100% of these two CPUs. You get part of it, the fraction of it. That's the trick that they play. Okay, I'll pick B2S, select. Yeah. Um, B1M, it says there is a policy in my current organization. When I say organization, I mean Azure organization, not the Scholar Hat. It says there is a policy in the Azure organization. This is interesting, by the way, which denies me to create virtual machines other than these two sizes, standard B1MS, standard B1S, and standard B2S. So we chose B2S, and I think it should be fine. Let's pick another one and see if that error goes away. If there is any error, you can let me know. Authentication, how do you want to log in into that machine? Either you can use SSH keys or you can use password. Okay, before I choose password, let me take a moment. Can you tell me, do you know what is SSH? Tell me in the commands if you know or if you don't know, if you want me to explain. I'll take a sip in the meantime. Sort of says no. Anyone else who wants me to explain what is SSH? Yeah. So can I assume other people know SSH? Yeah, it stands for secure shell. Okay, let me explain what that means. So when I choose SSH, what Azure will do, so SSH public key and private key. So what happens is SSH stands for Secure Shell Protocol. As part of that protocol, it requires a pair of keys. Yeah, secure communication. So how it ensures secure communication, that's what I'm explaining. SSH stands for Secure Shell Protocol. As part of this protocol, it uses a pair of keys. Please note, a pair of keys. So pair means two. So we have one public key, like mentioned here, and a private key. So when I select this radio button here, it's gonna put the public key it will first it will create a pair. From that pair, it will put the public key inside this virtual machine we are creating. It will go and simply put it inside. And the private part, the private key, it will it will let me download at the end when I click on review and create. So key will come to me in my local computer, this Mac machine, and the public key will go inside the uh, virtual machine that we are creating. And moving forward, we can use the same private key that we just downloaded for multiple virtual machines that we are creating. So that's the benefit. Other benefit is only the person who has the private key can SSH into that machine. That's how it works practically. Or the easier way for if you're creating it for the first time, you can use it uh, as your user. Password is 1234. Let me know what is the password if I forgot, because I intend to log in and show you into this machine. Let's have a time check. Are you enjoying this session, or should I go into this boring theoretical stuff? Let me know in the comments. All right. Um, Inbound port rules. So inbound port rules means um, when you create a machine, you need to specify which ports the machine will be able to listen. It can listen on any ports that you specify, or you can close all the inbound ports. So because we want to log in into that machine from our local terminal, so we want to open the required ports. So the port that this protocol works on, SSH protocol, is port 22. If you were creating, let's say, a Windows machine, you would want to RDP into it. For RDP, the port is 3389. If you don't want to log in into the machine, you just want, yeah, there are cases where you don't want to log in. You can still configure the machine by different other ways, and just want to access the application over HTTPS. You can enable HTTPS as well. Okay, so what else is remaining on the basic section? So basic looks complete, right? By the way, my password is, let me type it here. My password at the rate 1234. That's what I pasted. Sorry, I wanted to send it to everybody. Okay. Thanks, Vaishnavi, for confirming you enjoy. Saurav is asking what is inbound and outbound. Yeah, that's a good question. Inbound means any traffic coming to your server, right? So any traffic that is coming to your server, where that traffic will land, it requires a port. Every communication requires a port in networking. So all the inbound means where the incoming traffic will land. Outbound means which, so here, so like while creating a virtual machine, you don't need to specify outbound port. Outbound port will come into picture when you specify the security groups, the firewall rules here. So I'll talk about that. So outbound basically means to which destination ports this machine can communicate to. Suppose you want to create a very strict private machine, meaning you don't want that machine to communicate to anybody, or you don't want that machine to let's say communicate to a specific machine on a specific port. Like think of two machines, they want to communicate and communicate over fixed ports. So that can also be a scenario. In that case, you want to specify, uh, you want to put a restriction on the outbound ports as well. I'll show you that. So basically, inbound and outbound is more like your firewall security. Let's go to the disk. Disk, like I said, it's the, what's the real world physical equivalent of a disk is your hard disk. Um, I'm 80s kid. So in my days, we used to assemble computers. We used to buy RAM, we used to buy disk, we used to buy CPU and put everything in a huge box, and then the computer is ready. So disk you can get the disk size, disk type, premium SSD, standard, and then there comes even more premium like zone redundant premium SSD and so on. The difference between these premium versus standard is versus HDD is your input output speed. So you can pick the one for your basic purpose based on your utility. Even here it says for production applications, you should use SSD. For basic applications or something, you can use standard SSD, and for backup or something, you can use simple HDD. Let's pick premium, and you want to delete this disk when the VM is deleted, right? Uh, Now comes key management. So what this key is for encrypting the data, encrypting this disk basically. Do you know encryption? Do you know encryption? Anybody? Or rather, let me ask, do you know what's the difference between encryption and hashing? Never mind, it's not an interview, but it's a great question if you can discover the difference between encryption and hashing. One is uh, like reversible, you can do the reverse logic, another is not. So figure that out. Cool. So we have defined the disk. We want 30 GB of disk. The disk will delete after the VM is deleted. Do we need additional disk? No, we don't need additional disk. If we need, like, if your application requires more space, you can definitely attach more disk. And let's pick. Let's go to networking. This is a great point to understand networking. So when you create a virtual machine, the first thing I told you is any resource that you create must reside in a resource group, right? So that was for any resource. Now, when it comes to creating a virtual machine, it's a machine and it will be available on a certain IP address. And when we talk IP address, that means there has to be some network, and that network certainly it will be a virtual network, not a real, not physical network. Virtual is also real, but it is not physical to you. So virtual network, and this virtual network will be made of set of IP addresses. Can somebody tell me what does a set of IP addresses called? Have you heard of CIDR, uh, classless interdomain routing? This thing. Okay, I'll explain. So virtual network, it says uh, the machine will be part of a network, and that network will have a subnet, and that subnet will have this CIDR 10.0.0./24. Slash 24 is the mask. That means you will get 2 to the power 32 minus 24. That is 2 to the power 8 IP addresses in this network. One of the IP address, not from this virtual network, we also need a public IP address so that we can log in into that machine from my local terminal. I'll take a pause. There is a question here. What is the meaning of LRS, ZRS, and GRS? Where did you see that? I think you must have seen it in the disk. It's basically LRS stands for least redundant, ZRS for zone redundant, and GRS for global redundant. This concept is basically uh, used in storage. Like the disk itself is an example of storage. So you need to choose LRS, ZRS, or GRS based on what kind of redundancy you want to achieve. Redundancy, and what does redundancy provide? It provides high availability. That's it. Okay. And you may think, in what circumstances would somebody will go to zone redundant or LRS or ZRS? And this is a great topic, and it's part of your AZ 900 lecture series also here. So give me a moment. Azure. Let me find that slide that explains. I'll take a moment. Yeah. I'm answering to a question from Vrindavani Kulkarni. You have a nice name. LRS, ZRS, and GRS. So LRS stands for locally redundant storage. That means your storage resource. In this example, the disk was a storage resource. Can be locally redundant, zone redundant, or geo redundant or global redundant. Locally redundant means this is a data center, and in a data center, you will have 3 copies of your storage resource. That's LRS. Although you can choose no redundancy at all, like I chose in my case. If you go to basics, I chose no infrastructure redundancy required. That was for the virtual machine, and for disk also. Is it asking me redundancy here? No, not really. So SSD itself is locally redundant. Uh, if I go down, we have zone redundant. That's it. So let's coming back to the definition of LRS. It says 3 copies in a single data center. And you may guess ZRS means zone. So what is a zone? Zone is made up of multiple data centers that I told you in the beginning. So you can see in the slide. Uh, so we have 3 zones: zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3. And we have a copy in each of the zone in a data center each. Like comparing to LRS, each of these 3 copy will go into one zone each. That's ZRS. Now, if I go one more level up, the geo redundant, you can make a guess. There will be, and all of these zones, I think I told you, multiple availability zones make up a single region. So all of these zones are within a single region. Look at this primary region. What if I want the redundancy across regions? That becomes geo redundant. In this case, we'll have 3 copies in one data center in one region, and another 3 copies of the same storage resource in uh, second region. So this becomes geo redundant storage. So region across the region. Cool. Yeah, I have a lot of yes, no. I'm not able to uh, make the difference. What is availability zone? I told you, availability zone is a group of data centers. That's it. There is no fixed rule how many data centers will be there in a single availability zone. But for example, a single availability zone can have normally have 3 data centers, and similarly, 3 availability zone, use 3 or 4 availability zone, make up a single region. But there is no fixed rule for this. I have seen some regions which have 4 availability zone, or 6 or 5 or 3 or whatever. There's no fixed rule. The basic theorem says, or basic convention is, a region is made up of AZs or availability zones. Each availability zone, yeah, a region is made up of zones. Zones are made up of data centers. That's it. Okay. Uh, in LRS, 3 copies means 3 copies of the VM. No, 3 copies of the disk, not the VM. VM and disk are 2 different things. So VM is a combination of disk, operating, the compute capacity, the size, all of that. Disk is just your hard disk. For example, in your local computers also you have a disk, right? You just take out the disk and make 3 copies of it. That's LRS. And why it is important? Because as long as you have the disk, you can recreate your own computer again with the same configurations. That's why it's important. All right. Networking, we talked about it. Virtual network, subnet, masking. Is masking clear? What does /24 means? How many IP addresses will be there? How many IP addresses will be there? 2 to the power 32 minus 24. That means 2 to the power 8. That is 256 IP addresses will be there. So 256 IP addresses, how they will be like addressed? 10.0.0.0, then this last bit will change. Like this will increment 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 255. So total 256 IP addresses will be there in this CIDR range, CIDR range. And what does CIDR means? Anyone? Classless interdomain routing. Okay. Yeah. Any questions? I'll take a pause and take a sip again. Are you enjoying the class? Give me some boost, man. Like it's late in IST. Yeah, some people are happy. Abhishek asked me a good question. Public IP address is static or dynamic? Great question, Abhishek. Public IP address in our case is dynamic, meaning Azure is free to assign me any public IP address. It won't be part of this network at all. It will give me a random public IP address. Next time, suppose I shut down this machine and start it up again, or create a new machine, it will give me another public IP dynamic. So every time the public IP address will change in this example. However, if you want Azure to give you a fixed public IP, you need to purchase one IP from Azure. So that's a different service. It's called as, I think, let's see, it's called as Elastic IP, or just IP address. Yeah, IP address. You need to purchase one IP address, and you can use that IP address here. Enjoying. Yeah. Azure creates VMs, as you said. Then why are you creating VM? Yeah, like I'm defining the definition for this virtual machine. Only based on my definition, it will create a VM for me. Can't Azure create that VM? Yes, of course. Azure is going to create that VM, man. See, but how will Azure know that what VM you need, what operating system you need, what IP addresses you need, what machine size you need, what kind of security you need? All of this you need to define and click on this blue button. The moment you click on this blue button, the machine will be ready in 10 seconds. Simple. Is that clear, Saurabh? Yeah, cool. I'm enjoying this class too. Now it says delete the public IP. Yes. Load balancing. Um, Load balancing comes when you actually deploy some application and want that application to be load balanced. Like, um, let's not go into this right away. Let's have this machine ready, because I see some people are curious to get the machine up and running. Now, this is a great service, Microsoft Defender for Cloud. It's a security service offered from Azure, and it is one of the cloud offerings. Like I said somewhere here in the slides, how many services are there? Types of cloud services. So this is an example of one of the security service offered by Azure. What it will do, it will scan your computer, scan your virtual machine for different security baselines, and will tell you whether it is compliant or non-compliant. You can, but this doesn't comes, a free version comes free of this plan. Like my subscription has already the foundational or the basic version, but the advanced version of this Microsoft Defender comes at a price. uh, Entra ID, identity, all of that. So Entra ID is your identity provider. So Azure also has an identity service. It's called Azure AD. Uh, Earlier, it used to be called as Azure AD. Now it is called Entra ID. So here you can define all the users and what they can access, what they can't access, everything. And even you can assign, create an identity for your machine. Okay, let's keep all of this default. No need to go inside that. Monitoring is you can monitor the machine logs. You can set up alerts on certain events. You can have like boot diagnostics enabled. Like whenever the machine will boot, all the boot logs will be stored in a storage account. Storage account is what? Storage account is the storage service from Azure. So if you go to Azure and click on here, storage, it will tell you a storage account. Storage account, think of a service where you can store different kinds of data. So if we click on create, I'm not going to create, I'm just trying to tell you, you can create blob storage, you can create object storage, or you can create any type of storage that you want. So this boot diagnostic will go into a storage account automatically because I have chosen this example. Advanced, the only interesting thing advanced in the advanced section is the custom data. Does anybody know what is custom data? Okay. Custom data is the set of, I'll write here, set of commands that will execute while the machine will boot up. Does that make sense? So you can, like, I'm creating a Linux machine, and my use case, let's assume my use case is I want certain commands to execute when the machine is booting up, right? Uh, I don't want those commands to be executed later. I want them to be executed immediately, like while it is booting up, uh, and before it becomes ready for me to use. So that's called the custom data. And these commands can be based on what kind of operating system you have chosen initially in the basic section. For example, in case of, let me give you some example. In the meantime, please send your comments. I am finding the commands. Okay. So this will be a shell script. First, it will go and update the operating system packages. Then it will install, let's say I want Apache server to be installed while the machine is booting up. Ideally, this is not the right way. I'm just giving you an example. Let's see. So hope you know what is Apache server. And can you guess, do I need to enable some port? Any guesses? Yeah, Apache server is a web server. Because it's a web server, any web server, it serves on the port 80 and 443. So let's go back, and we were mentioning which inbound ports to enable, 80 and 443, right? So let's go back, advanced, and we have Apache server, custom data. Yeah, that's pretty much all. Click on review your machine. It will tell you the overall summary. So I chose this machine of size standard D1, DS1 V2, uh, and the monthly cost will be around like here 5,600 something rupees local currency, and the hourly cost is this much. And yeah, I agree all of their terms and condition. Pay as you go. These are the basic details. Just to summarize: subscription, resource group, the VM name can be anything, the region, no redundancy required. All of this we discussed. I did not discuss this thing, but we can discuss maybe next time. We also discussed the LRS, ZRS, and that thing, and which is a core concept in your AZ900 certification. Networking, okay, all of that. Let's go and hit create. Let's see what happens. This is a great feature here. If everything is good, it will tell you validation passed and it will start creating your resource. Let's wait for a moment. Okay, boot up means when your machine starts. When for example, in your local computer, you press the power button and the machine starts. That starting process is called booting up the machine. Yeah, so the machine is getting created. In cloud terminology, we usually call it as deployment. So machine is getting deployed, and these are the steps it is taking. It is creating. Let me zoom out. Yeah, it created a public IP address. It created a security group. Security group is the set of firewall rules which defines inbound and outbound ports and IP addresses which are allowed. Uh, it created a virtual network of the defined CIDR range we specified 10.0.0./24. Then from that CIDR range, it picked one IP address and assigned it to a network interface. Network interface is like something analogous to your LAN port on your computer, local computer. And finally, it created the virtual machine. It is ready. Let's go to the resource, and the resource is ready, right? Now, these are the basic details of the resource. Uh, it's pretty much the same things that we selected while creating the machine, the subscription, all of this. The most important here for now is the IP address, because using the IP address only we are going to connect to that machine. So every machine that you create will definitely have a private IP address for sure. Without a private IP, you can't create a machine, because machine needs to have an IP address, right? It will be part of some network. So private IP will always be there. Public IP will be there only if you have chosen that checkbox that we selected. And this public IP will be dynamic most of the times, unless you have created, you have purchased an IP address separately and use that IP address. So that becomes a static. In this example, this is a dynamic IP address. You can see it's not part of that CIDR range we provided. Okay. And this public IP is assigned to the network interface that it created. Okay, all of this is here: CPU, RAM, everything that we specified. There is a whole lot of settings that are required in day-to-day operations, which are on the left. But let's try to connect to this machine. Oh, there was a thing called as connect via bastion, but we will use connect using public IP address. So I can use public IP address. Uh, Private key required. You can see what options I have. I can connect SSH using Azure CLI. Public IP address, this one. If I select this, let's see what happens. It is validating. Port 22 is open. Let's click on connect. By the way, if you recall, we did not choose any key pairs. We choose the username and password option. I think I pasted the password somewhere here. Can someone repaste the password, please? In the meantime, Saurabh is asking the difference between public and private IP address. See, IP addresses are part of a network. If you can reach that IP address, let's rather choose a different option. Yeah. Let's try local. Can you see my terminal? So I'm going to try to connect via SSH portal, Azure user. This was the username I gave, and the IP address was this one, 4.206.76.62. So I'll provide this, uh, 4.206.76.62. Let's see if this is correct. Everything is fair. It will let me in. It will only ask me for the passwords. And the password was my password at the rate 1234. Thank you so much. Yeah. Now it says the authenticity of the host. Now this is my local computer asking me that authenticity of this host that I'm trying to connect, this virtual machine that I'm trying to connect, can't be established. That means it doesn't know which machine is this. Am I sure if I want to connect? If I click yes, what it will do, it will add this IP address to my local machine's SSH verified host list. So every machine keeps track of all the verified hosts it can connect. So let me click on yes. Now it is asking me the password. Let me type in the password. Yes, we are inside. Look at this green prompt. So we are inside the Azure machine. So let me clean the screen. Let's look at this information here. It says, welcome to Ubuntu. It is Ubuntu 22 that we chose. Uh, there are some updates pending that can I definitely apply using the update command, the the package manager, sudo apt update command, and so on. And this is the basic welcome message, right? And if you are a Linux user, you know you should. I encourage all of you, like if you use Linux, you should use the man pages. It's like self-help. Uh, Let me do some clear. Uh, you can also verify where you are currently. You can see who am I and what is my present working directory. What is this machine itself? You can see. Uh, you can see this machine is Ubuntu 22, and my current machine. I have opened another tab here. This is the Ubuntu that we are connected from local. This is my local terminal, and here if you see, this is my Mac. uh, yeah. Remember I told you my Mac is like ARM 60 ARM architecture. So you name minus M. Yeah. Remember I told you my Mac is ARM 64 because it's a silicon chip computer. It's not an Intel chip. It's a different architecture. What does that mean is uh, only certain types of softwares can be installed on this machine, which are ARM 64 compatible. But the machine that we just created in Azure, it's not ARM 64, it's Cross 64, right? So if I run the same command there, it will show me Cross 64. Do you feel happy, excited? Yeah. Saurav is asking, so before sending the HTTPS requests to your VM, my machine needs to know the IP address of your VM. So will it be public or private? Public, because you're sending me request over internet. Anything that travels through the internet is public, if anybody can connect. Okay. Let's suppose if would, okay, I'll give you one more example. Ha, we connected to this machine. Uh, we connected to this machine from my local. Where am I sitting? I'm sitting somewhere in a small town in India, right? And where is this machine? It is in Canada. We are connected. Even you guys go and connect using these credentials I can give you. Okay. And there is no SSH key. Let's try this right away, right? So let me give you the commands. This was SSH something, and password you know already, right? Oh, I gave it to Saurabh Kumar. I should have given to everybody. Go and connect using this command. Password is, uh, I think, right? My password. You want to do that right away? But don't do any suspicious stuff in my machine, right? Can you guys ping me in the chat if you're trying to connect to this machine via SSH? By the way, if you're on a Windows computer, you can't run this command right away. To run this SSH command, you need to have git bash installed. Or see if you can run this command on PowerShell. Open the PowerShell prompt on as an admin. Or let me give you. Yeah, it should work on PowerShell. Yes. Are you guys even trying? Yes, no. Did it work for you? How does it feel connected to the VM? Yeah. Thanks, Saurav. Okay, so let me now terminate the VM. I no longer need that. And when I terminate the VM, it will automatically also delete the operating system disk that we attached. It will delete the IP address, that will delete the network interface. Why it is asking me or just sharing this list explicitly? Because Azure captures the usage of these resources separately. It captures how much of the disk was created and used, for how long the NIC was used, for how long the IP address was used, and based on that, it will bill to my subscription. Does that make sense? I'll click on delete. But will it delete the resource group? No, it won't delete the resource group. Right? So resource group will be there, but no resources inside that resource group. Let's go there. Look at that. So the scholar had resource group. It had these many resources. In another 30 seconds, all of these will be deleted right away. Let's wait for that. Did you enjoy the lecture? The creating a VM? It's part of your AG 900 labs. Okay. The machine has now been deleted and I should be logged out automatically. See, this prompt is no longer working. Yeah. Even your prompts might not be working anymore. This should be cleaned up in a moment. Okay. Let's go back and let me tell you some essential stuff that I think is important to understand. In the meantime, rest of the people can ask me questions if you have. Yeah, I wanted to talk about one particular slide. Yes, I wanted to talk about the certification now. There's a lot to cover in the coming lectures, but I want you to have a clarity of thoughts, what exactly you want to do next, and What does certification mean for you? Okay. Saurav is asking something which I do not understand. What does that mean? He's saying, I created a VM. Yes, I did. He wants to know, does Azure also create VMs of the portals through which you created the VM? Definitely not. They use some other technologies like Kubernetes. But honestly, I don't know. It might be running on VM. What the question means is, we use this web service, right? Uh, okay, I'll explain the question here. So the question is, you're looking at my screen. This is the Azure service, right? So the question is, where is this service running? Is it running on a virtual machine or is it running somewhere else? So the answer is, I don't know. It might be running on a virtual machine or it might be running on different kind of compute services. So virtual machine is a kind of compute service. Uh, there are few more kinds of compute services available. For example, it might be running on containers. It might be running on Kubernetes. It might be running on serverless functions. I don't know. Or it might be a combination of all, not necessarily uh, just one type. But definitely, Azure itself must be running on Azure. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, web service. Yeah, I don't know. It could be a web service as well. They have something called as web app. So, but it's definitely not a web service to how it seems to me. It's a more complicated uh, enterprise application, and it could be a hybrid. Some of them might be web service, some of them might be a separate service. So each service is kind of a huge project. So how Microsoft handles is, they have a team who handles VM as a service. They have a team which handles, let's say, Entra ID as a service, and so on. So it's up to the team how they implement and make it available to the customers. There's no fixed rule. All right. Coming back to the main topic for this lecture. So, because you have gathered here, thank you so much. You are here for the Azure Fundamentals certification AZ 900. So Azure offers 3 levels of exams. Anybody can prepare and appear for this fundamental exam, and we are here to help you prepare. Okay, and uh, similar to fundamentals, anybody can prepare and appear for the associate exam. There is no minimum eligibility criteria. Anybody can directly appear to fundamentals or associate. You prepare, you apply for the certification, appear in a proctored exam online, and you get the certification. Only after you have an associate, you become eligible to apply for an expert certification, and you can appear for the expert exam. Is that clear to everybody? Let me repeat. Appearing in an expert exam requires an associate certification already. Appearing in fundamentals and associate is open to all. You can prepare and appear in the exam. Where the scholar hat comes into the picture is, we help you prepare. We help you prepare for these exams. Can you give me a like confirmation if you understood this point? Okay. Next is, so within, so your question might be, within fundamentals is a single exam, AZ 900. But in associate, there are 2 tracks. You can choose one of the 2 tracks, and based on your track, you can choose the corresponding expert level track. For example, AZ 900 is the Azure Fundamentals exam, And once you read it and clear it, then you can apply for developer or administrator. One of these two, one of these two associate exams. The code number is AZ204 and AZ104. You can pick any one based on your preference. And once you have an associate certification, you can go for the expert level exam based on again your career aspirations and alignment. Now you can go for architect, you can go for DevOps. Now there comes your question like, hey, I am a developer, which might be more relevant for me, or I am a manager, or I'm something which might be more relevant. So the answer is you clear the fundamentals because that's the first step, and you discover yourself what's more appropriate for you, what aligns with your interest. There is no hard and fast rule. I myself have been a backend developer in the past. Then right now I'm more like an Azure architect and Azure DevOps both. So I do both, mix of both in my current consultancy role. So it's up to you. Is that clear? Now, where does Scholarhead come into the picture is we help you prepare. So when you go to scholarhead.com, you can log in using your Gmail or Facebook or create an account. And once you log in, you will see, uh, just go to scholarhat.com. You'll see we have a lot of free courses and we have paid courses as well. Uh, our preparatory course for Azure Fundamentals is absolutely free. Anybody can enroll without any cost. It is free right now, and usually we charge some amount for that. So within, if you go to free courses, within free courses, you will see Azure Fundamentals course for beginners. This is the course where we will give you hands-on training, live session like today, and one-on-one support. If you have any queries, we'll have another team who can help you resolve your queries, because every learner comes with his or her own background of initial knowledge, or a pace, at what pace you are finishing up that course. So we have another team dedicated to help you progress. So you can click on get started, and you can see usually it's sold for like some amount, but right now it's free. You can click on access now, and it will take you here. So once you click on access now, you can see we have the videos available. We'll have live sessions just like today. We'll have quick notes. Quick notes are like all the basic concepts which are essential for you to finish these hands-on labs. What we just today is one of these hands-on labs. We created a Linux virtual machine and we connected to it from our local. And while creating this Linux virtual machine, we talked about and we understood a lot of different concepts, right? So you need to understand and do all these hands-on lab. Most likely, I'll be your instructor for the live sessions, which will happen only on weekends for 1.5 hours to 2 hours. Okay, and yeah, so this is what you get. In addition to this, you also get interview question and answers. All of this is for free, absolutely free. You get interview question and answers. You get support from our, like, there is a separate team who helps you prepare for the certifications. And finally, we'll give you a certificate from Scholarhead. And that's all. If you like this content, you can definitely enroll for the next level, which is Azure Administrator. That's what we have, and Azure DevOps Engineer. And yeah, but these two courses will not be free. You'll have to pay for it. Yeah, how long the LMS would be accessible after the course? I think for the free access, it is free for lifetime. For the paid courses, it is for 1 year. So it's not necessary that like you can only come to a live class just for 3-4 months. You can come to a class for a live conversation with instructors like me any number of times within a span of 1 year. Let me give you these links. Yeah, this is Azure Fundamentals Free. Look at that. I've shared the link in the chat. You can definitely log in using your Gmail and try that out. Do you have any other questions? Please feel free to ask. Do you enjoy today's session, by the way? The session is over, almost over. I'm here to share the feedback, share the final outcomes. If you liked, you can definitely explore our job-oriented trainings, because just doing AZ 900 like fundamentals won't get you a job, a professional job in the cloud engineering environment. You need to have some kind of professional training like cloud DevOps engineer, ML or AI, and this one you can pick. The live demo is just what happened, and you can pick. Uh, yeah, you can take the next steps. You can see if you pick this Azure Cloud DevOps track, you need to go through AZ900, which is already I explained here. This is AZ900 track. After AZ900, you need to go through the associate level, which is Azure Administrator AZ104, which is this one. Here we'll talk about these concepts. Let me expand and tell you like what entails to become certified in these. So AZ900 requires you to understand the basic cloud fundamentals and understand the difference between IaaS, SaaS, PaaS, the basic database service from Azure, storage service, and basic app service from Azure. To understand all of this, the right way or the best way to do it is do it by yourself, learn by doing, do all these labs, and you will understand those concepts easily. It covers mostly the services related to IAM, the intra ID, Azure management. The example that I showed you, that certain VM sizes were restricted because of the management policies, the cost, the governance and compliance, monitoring and deploying Azure resources. So that's very basic and simple. Coming to the associate level AZ104, you will need to go one level deeper, a little advanced. You need to understand the identities, governance, and storage. You need to understand the compute related stuff, like I just at a high level mentioned we have different compute services, like VM is a compute service, container is a compute service, Kubernetes is a compute service, app services is a compute, functions is a compute. All of that have compute capacity. Anything that has a compute capacity is a compute service. Now you need to understand those things in detail. Azure app, containers, virtual machines, all of these I spoke about. ARM template is something that you create resources by writing code. For example, right now when we create the resources, we did not wrote any single line of code, but you can create resources by writing some piece of code. So that piece of code is called ARM template. The full form is Azure Resource Manager Templates. It's very popular in the cloud industry. Saurav is asking the sequence of learning. Yeah, that's what I'm explaining. The sequence is 900, 104, and then the expert level exam, AZ 400 or solution architect, either one that you choose. Yeah, in Azure Administrator 104, in addition to containers, virtual machine, app service, you also need to understand the networking part of it, the subnets, the security groups, all of that. You need to understand the how to access private machines. Yeah, that was a good example. Like the machine that we created today was a public machine so that we could access it online. How the DNS name resolution works, how do we monitor for logs and maintenance and monitor them, how to set up backup and recovery in case of disaster happens, and how do we restore back. So once you have hands-on and very good understanding of AZ 104, then only you become eligible to apply for this exam, Azure DevOps, which is an expert level exam. Like I said, you can pick DevOps or Azure Solution Architect, these two expert, any one of them. Now here you get all the concepts which are required for DevOps. DevOps stands for development and operations. So development and operation together, it's no more a new thing now. It has been in the industry for more than a decade, more than 10 years now. I'm, by the way, professionally a DevOps engineer. So at a high level, if you don't know, it's like you create the code, you run the code locally. I'll make sure that code is deployed to the production servers automatically. You don't have to worry about anything. You just click on commit and push your code to the versioning system. That's it. From there onwards, I'll make sure to take your code, bundle it, test it, and take it and deploy it into some servers. All of this is automatic. That's part of DevOps day-to-day job. Terraform uh, is another way of writing code to create Azure resources. One way I one of the way I explained is ARM templates. That is one method to write code for creating resources. This is second method to write code to create Azure resources. The difference is ARM templates are like Microsoft technology. Terraform is HashiCorp technology. So just like two different languages which can achieve the same purpose. Git, GitHub, Azure pipelines, and Jenkins. All of this we'll cover. We'll also cover Docker and Kubernetes that I explained. Not explained, I mentioned them if you don't know. We will understand it. We'll have hands-on labs. We'll deep dive into containers, Dockers, and then Kubernetes. We'll do a lot of interesting exercises. And finally, you will get career coaching and interview preparation from Scholar Hat. You'll have career coaching. You will like showcase the projects you will build as part of these programs in your resume and in your GitHub repository homepage. That's how you showcase and actually become proficient and confident in Azure cloud engineering and DevOps jobs. You can click on download detailed curriculum and refer to that. Yeah. Any questions, please? Okay. Please take your time to ask me any questions. The session is complete. I'll stop presenting.